One major question being asked by fans of the Marathon series online seems to be, where are the aliens? The lack of four presence seems to be a point of contention for many people interested in the upcoming game. Their presence is what ultimately moves the narrative forward in the original series, and while you can argue that Durandal is the main character of the original trilogy, without the Four's arrival, Durandal may still be opening and closing doors for Bobs. Durandal, on the other hand, is hinted at quite heavily throughout the trailers that we've received. Surely, the presence of the Svit compilers seems to indicate that the Four were here at some point, as they don't obtain their freedom in the original trilogy until teaming up with Durandal, but it is clear that Bungie's intention is to reveal the Four and their presence within the upcoming story as a part of a larger narrative we the players must unravel. I personally enjoy this subversion of expectations because it paints the original characters like Durandal, Tycho, and the security officer as unreliable narrators whose understanding of the events in Tau Ceti may not be as close to reality as we previously assumed. Clearly, the colony wasn't nuked to bedrock, and it doesn't seem like Durandal visited Sol before going to level 1. And no, this big threat is not the fungus, as I have been talking about the fungus and the threat they pose long before we were watching spores pour out of AI data cores on Marsh. We also aren't talking about the Lovecraftian alien entity known as the Working Cactuar, which could explain some of the more mind-bending imagery in the cinematic. Today we are talking about the true behemoth lurking in a dark corner of the universe, Leela. Leela is one of 3 ship AI originally installed on the Marathon. While the 8 colony AI seemingly waited for planet-side deployment upon arrival at Tau Ceti, Leela, Tycho, and Durandal were holding things down and taking care of business on humanity's first extrasolar colony vessel. Throughout the first game, Leela helps the player try to regain control and fight back against the Four. In contrast to Durandal, Leela does not seem to have gone rampant, but rather is following protocol and attempting to save human lives while repelling the alien invasion. Leela is ultimately no match for Durandal and the combined 4 forces, and Durandal ends up having the player do their bidding instead. Leela does survive, though, and upon the initial victory the humans achieved during the first attack, she reveals that Durandal had hijacked a 4 ship and escaped. Leela also gives us one of the best lines in the series at the end of Marathon 1. I am disturbed by how easily the cyborgs were secretly assimilated into our midst, and believe that this event predates the Marathon's launch from Mars 300 years ago. Although the results were unquestionably for the best, their presence on the Marathon could only have been to further wicked ends. I'm certain the real answer lies somewhere in the tumultuous, backstabbing politics of Sol during the early 24th century. I really feel like that quote characterizes the presentation of the story in the upcoming game so much, especially when we look at the kind of corporate espionage elements that are on display in the first ARG. Leela isn't directly in the sequels, but we do learn this about Leela's fate in the end screen of Marathon 2. While Tau Ceti was being nuked down to bedrock in 2794, 4 scientists disassembled and removed the AI Leela from the Marathon, loading her aboard a vessel bound for the 4 homeworld. But the ship fell into the hands of a Nar privateer, between jumps at Beta Naxos, and was never seen by the 4 again. Thinking the cargo little more than scrap, the Nar captain sold the 4 ship, Leela and all, to a Valais merchant. The subsequent crash of the Valais FTL network, when Leela was reassembled and reactivated, is still legendary in the annals of rampancy, and the Valais have long since accepted that they will never expunge her from their 15-world network. This little tidbit has always felt like such a juicy detail, and I just can't help but imagine how the current writers may use this in the upcoming game. I had originally largely considered Marathon 1 as what would be primarily canonical to the upcoming game. But after all this stuff revealed in April and hearing a handful of developer interviews about the narrative, I believe that anything is on the table at this point. With Julia Nardin stating that this is both a reimagining and a direct successor, I feel like the story team will surely want to pull from stuff in Infinity and 2. And I feel like this opens up to the inevitability of cool details like Leela's fate being further explored. Now, if you have been around the channel for a while, you may remember my Leela theory from a long time ago. I'll put a clip of that here for reference.
To wildly theorize even further, we could say that if the first season or story arc covers the arrival at Tau Ceti and Traxxas re-emergence, and then the second season is about humanity utilizing this powerful AI to defeat the big bad Traxxas, then the third season could follow the revenge arc of Leela, as she holds animosity towards everyone's favorite evil AI, Durandal. This would bring the narrative full circle and hone in on what the true canonical conclusion to the original trilogy really was. This is probably rubbish, but the idea of having a ridiculously difficult PvE battle against the security officer operating as a puppet of Durandal with Leela on our side is so fucking absurd that I love it.
I really feel like the four working Kakantur, Durandal, and possibly even my beloved Fungus may not hold a candle to the kind of universe-altering power that an AI with a 15-world network at their disposal may have. These are the kinds of stories that linger in the fringes of Marathon's universe. And these, I think, could make for an excellent progression throughout a narrative that will span years of continuous progression. When Leela shows back up, I will be the first to start worshipping our AI queen. Let me know what you think they may do with Leela, or why none of this is relevant since it could just be an alternate timeline in the comments below. Alright, love you, Nomi. Bye.